Welcome to That's Good Sports. I am Brandon. I have never used $5 million in welfare money to build a volleyball court Perna. But guess who has? Brett Favre. Today I want to dive into this Brett Favre welfare scandal because it's pretty messed up. I'm going to go a little deeper than most, and oddly, I found 3 other fraud and robbery stories all involving NFL players, including Tom Brady and Calvin Ridley. And even Calvin Ridley is willing to bet this episode today is gonna be great. That's good sports. Please, if you like high-profile thieves, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Today's episode is sponsored by Upside. Upside is not just something every major sports network does not see in me. It's an app built to literally give you money back for your purchases. To me, Upside made sense because why wouldn't I get money back for purchases I already have to make? Last year, I bought a full-sized gas-guzzling truck because traveling with a small child requires a ton of room for all of the stuff you have to pack. What I didn't see coming was inflation and extremely high gas prices. And the only thing that made me not lose my mind when that pump price hit 3 figures was knowing I was earning back with Upside. You can use Upside when buying gas or at grocery stores or at restaurants. So download the free Upside app in the App Store or on Google Play and use my promo code GOODSPORTS and get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. All you do is check in at the business, pay as usual with your credit or debit card, and get paid once you're linked up with Upside. You can cash out anytime to your bank, to PayPal, or with an e-gift card. Just use my code and link below to get started, which in and of itself is an upside. A gentleman who messed with Tom Brady has been sentenced to 3 years in prison. Oh God. Oh God, what does that mean for me? Following an FBI art crime team investigation, Scott V. Spina Jr. of Roseland, New Jersey has been sentenced to 3 years in prison for fraudulently obtaining and selling 3 Tom Brady Super Bowl championship rings. Ironic considering 3 of Tom's rings are fraudulent. Tuck Rule, Spygate, Pandemic Bowl. Spina pleaded guilty of 1 count of mail fraud, 3 counts of wire fraud, and 1 count of identity theft. Now this story is a little weird, but basically this guy pretended to be a player who left the team, who left the Patriots, and purchased a Super Bowl ring from Super Bowl 51 with a bad check, and then with the info he obtained through that process, ordered 3 family rings for Tom Brady's family with the name Brady on them, and then sold those to an auction house for $100,000. Basically, this man figured out how to game the system, just like Bill Belichick. Now, the most bizarre breaking and entering story I have today is former Lions corner Stanley Wilson Jr. was arrested for breaking into a $30 million Hollywood Hills mansion and taking a bath in an outdoor fountain. I know that sounds like an expensive home, but this is what $30 million gets you in the Hollywood Hills, which is still more than you can get in Malibu. Now, Wilson was charged with 2 counts of felony vandalism, and his fountain bath caused $5,000 worth of damage. How dirty do you have to be to cause that much damage while taking a bath outdoors? Now, Wilson was also arrested back in 2017 for another break-in. You know how when you get too drunk and you think texting your ex is a good idea? Well, that's what Wilson does, except his urge is to break into homes and take baths. Wilson is actually a great don't do drugs campaign. His 2017 arrest was a huge story at the time because he broke into a mansion in Portland, Oregon, while naked and was shot in the abdomen by the elderly homeowner. "Martha, there's a naked man trying to bathe in our home. Shoot him, Hank! Shoot him in the guts!" Now, apparently indefinitely suspended Falcons receiver Calvin Ridley was the target of a massive organized street gang robbery plot in Atlanta. So not only does Ridley have to worry about the NFL taking money out of his pocket, he has to worry about gangs organizing like the mafia to break racketeering laws by use of carjacking, kidnapping, armed robberies, shootings, and home invasions. Also taking his money. Now Ridley, along with Mariah Carey, Brad Guzan, and Marlo Hampton, all had their homes broken into. Essentially, gangs are taking to social media to see who is posting pictures of themselves with items worth stealing, and then figuring out where these celebs live to rob them of said items.
Are becoming more savvy, more sophisticated in the way that they target you. And this is a way that we know that they targeted these individuals.
That's why I always try and look homeless in my social posts. Now, an indictment has been filed charging 26 people, all believed to be members of the Drug Rich Gang. Drug Rich is what I also believe Charlie Sheen was back in 2011.
I am on a drug, it's called Charlie Sheen. It's not available because if you try it once, you will die.
Now this gang began to form in 2016, and law enforcement is now cracking down on them since they're, targeting wealthy people. My prediction is the next thing we see are the gang members live streaming their robberies to build followings on social media to ultimately help them get out of that gang life. But the biggest thief of them all may be former NFL quarterback Brett Favre, who has been named in a Mississippi state lawsuit, but not charged with a crime. Now, Brett Favre didn't know what a nickel or dime defense was until the third year of his career.
I hear this nickel defense all the time, but I'm not real sure what it is.
And now he knows them all too well because he's been nickel and diming the poor to the tune of $5 million, allegedly. Now, just like Al Capone going down for tax evasion, it's a bit surprising that one of the NFL's all-time gunslingers may go down for fraud. Let's go all the way back to 2017, though, where this story sort of starts. 5 years ago, the state of Mississippi, the poorest state in the US, paid Brett Favre $1.1 million to make motivational speeches. That money came from public welfare funds that would have otherwise gone to needy families. Now, Favre argued that his family also needed the money, but more egregiously, Favre never even made those fucking speeches and still collected the check. Sorry, Brett, but guest speaking spots are not injury guaranteed. Now, Favre eventually did pay back the $1.1 million. However, the state auditor wants him to also pay interest, which Favre has refused. Now, I emphasized eventually paid that money back because I talked about this story at some point. Favre didn't pay back that money out of the kindness of his heart. He had to be forced to pay it back. I believe he did not pay it back until that story became public. At the time, though, he claimed he didn't know the money came from welfare funds for the state, which, to be fair, I understand.
If you don't know what's going on, the trick is to act like you do.
If Favre could barely read a defense after playing football his entire life, how on earth would he understand the complexities of state legislature, welfare, and funding for what he assumed was just a fee for a speech? The simple answer is that this man...
You think God never farted?
This man...
It wasn't like a f***ing church.
This man... is actually the redneck version of Kaiser Sose. Now, we recently found out through text messages released from the state of Mississippi's ongoing civil suit welfare scandal that Favre was pushing for more welfare funds to be diverted to the University of Southern Mississippi so they could build a new volleyball facility where his daughter played. And thank God Brett Favre didn't have a son. Imagine how much more money a football facility would have cost. Now, those texts were leaked, and they were between Favre and Nancy New, who was the new agency director of the Mississippi Department of Human Services at the time. So she was the OG New. Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant was helping orchestrate the deal between Favre and New, but this is what was leaked from Favre's phone, who has never had any issues with any scandals coming by way of his phone, as far as my knowledge extends. But this is what he texted, quote, "If you were to pay me, is there any way the media can find out where it came from and how much? If you ask that question in writing, you might be doing something nefarious, Brett." Now the media did find out where it came from and how much. It came from welfare funds, and it was $5 million fucking dollars. I would have thought the joy he stole from Vikings fans with his 5-8 record and 19 picks in his final season was enough. Or all those years he robbed Packers fans of Aaron Rodgers. Or maybe Brett thought he had already given more than his fair share to charity with his 336 career interceptions, and he was owed welfare money from the state for a volleyball court. I get it though, as a father, you will do anything for your child, right? I'm 2 years into the gig and I already know my daughter will be spoiled. But I'm pretty sure if the college she attended needed a new volleyball court, I wouldn't ask the state of Colorado to take money from people who need it the most, Rockies fans, so my kid can bump, set, and spike on nicer slabs of polished fucking wood. If I were as famous and as rich as Brett Favre, I'd simply make sure my kid went to a college that already had a good volleyball facility. If former Full House star Lori Loughlin had to do jail time for using her own money, $500,000 to get her kids into USC, how much hard time should Favre do for literally taking money from people who need it for food for a volleyball court? Imagine an off-season of Hard Knocks, Hard Time, starring Brett Favre. Now the court filings state that Favre knew exactly where the money was coming from. This is a quote. "The evidence suggests that MDHS executives, including Governor Bryant, knew that Favre was seeking funds from MDHS to build the volleyball facility and participated in directing, approving, or providing Favre MDHS funds to be used for the construction of the volleyball facility." But wait, there's more. There is more than the $5 million and more than the $1.1 million Favre scammed. Favre is also the largest individual outside investor and stockholder of a company called Prevacus, a Florida-based company that was trying to develop a concussion drug. Why is Favre investing in a concussion drug company important? Is it a drug that gives you as many concussions as Favre has had, in hopes that we will all forget how sleazy Brett Favre is? Oh, no. Per the lawsuit, Favre hosted a Prevacus stock sales presentation at his home in January of 2019, which was attended by most of the Mississippi government power players. And at the event, an agreement was reached to spend substantial welfare grant money in Prevacus, and later in its corporate affiliate Pre-Sol MD Inc. Simply put, Favre hosted an event to funnel $2.1 million in welfare grant money to his concussion drug company. That's a total of $8.3 million on Favre's hands. Now, do I think the US government wastes and misappropriates that kind of money every year? No. I think they waste that kind of money every day. Favre made $137 million from the NFL alone during his career, and that doesn't include his endorsement money from companies like Nike, Wrangler, MasterCard, Prilosec, and Foot Locker, which is projected to have earned him an extra $7 to $9 mil per year in his prime. And hell, why not ask Copperfit to foot the bill for the facility? Instead of being involved in a salacious scam, let one scam you endorse pay for the volleyball facility. All the Copperfit on earth, though, won't be enough to hold up Favre's legacy. If all this shit is true, he should have to serve his day in court and probably jail.
If you don't know what's going on, the trick is to act like you do.
But he won't. Why can a guy like Brett Favre get away with this? Well, because he's really fucking charming and likable.
Take out a linebacker and bring in a DB. I said, that's it? He said, that's it. I said, who gives a shit?
Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. Please stick around, check out another video. I've got an NFL recap of Week 1, If the NFL Were a Bad Comedy, not starring Brett Favre. because Something About Mary was actually a really good movie. Subscribe!